The old saying, good fences make good neighbors, is not always true, especially during hurricane season. Sometimes just sharing information and advocating for someone can make a huge difference. Here to tell us how Council on Aging of West Florida's Good Neighbor program does just that, and how you can volunteer to be a good neighbor. Here is Volunteer Coordinator Brenda L. Turner. Brenda, thanks for being here.
Thank you too, Jeff.
Well, let's talk about this good neighbor. Everybody has an idea of what a good neighbor should be, but let's talk about specifically the Council on Aging's Good Neighbor program. What is it?
Well, the Good Neighbor program is just that. You're just being a good neighbor, watching over seniors in the community. And actually, it's an advocate program implemented during the hurricane season. And a good neighbor volunteer would be a person who is willing to take on a senior living in the same general zip code area that they are living in. And we try to match those people together, the senior and the good neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Well, so how did this program come about, or who is it designed to help? I guess these seniors that we're trying to make sure that they're informed?
Yes. Actually, the program is for seniors 60 years old or older, and who typically would not have anyone to assist them during the bad time of the hurricane season. Generally, they are the seniors in our at our agency who are being served by our agency. Although if we were to get someone, we would not turn them down, of course. And right now, we do have about 24 to 27 clients of the Council on Aging who we're looking to match with the Good Neighbor volunteers.
And tell about why we're matching it by zip code. I mean, besides just the name is Good Neighbor, there's also a very logistic reason for doing
Absolutely. You know, I understand during the hurricane season, you have shelters and you have an evacuation plan. And typically, I believe they're based on the areas where you are. So if we can match a Good Neighbor volunteer with a senior within that zip code, then the logistics will be just that much easier in terms of getting the people where they need to be.
Mm-hmm. And especially after the fact, if roads are closed
Absolutely.
or bridges or
Yes.
traveling around the city is compromised for some period of time. So who's eligible to volunteer? Tell us about what you're looking for in a volunteer.
We're looking for anyone 18 years or older of age. Now, everyone who participates as a volunteer with the Council on Aging must go through a background screening.
Sure.
And then after the background screening, which takes about 7 to 10 days, then we would try to match you with a senior. But in the course of that, of course, everyone who is willing to be a Good Neighbor volunteer must go through an orientation period, and at which time we will take them through. We have a Good Neighbor program. We will take them through all of that, explain to them what we're expecting and what their responsibilities are.
Is this orientation or training, is this a huge time commitment? I mean, we don't want to scare anybody off.
Absolutely not. Typically, they may take, most of the time, they take no more than 2 hours.
Okay.
I've not been to any of our orientation programs that's exceed that time. Generally, it's going to be like from 10 to noon. And of course, based on the good neighbors who volunteer, we may have to just tweak that a little bit. Maybe we'll have it at a different time of the day to accommodate all the volunteers.
Well, you're great at making things work for people, so we appreciate you and working with the volunteers, because it is very, very important. Well, you mentioned going over expectations. Let's talk a little bit about that, what they're actually asked to do. We mentioned advocating. So we're not necessarily looking for people to board up windows or cut down trees.
Absolutely
after the fact.
not. What we want you to do is be responsible for that senior that we've matched you with, the volunteer with. We want you to make sure, this is to ensure that that senior is aware that there is an impending hurricane. We want to make it sure and make it clear that they understand where they're going. We understand where they're going. Do you have shelter? Do you have plans to go into a shelter? If you have an animal, what do you plan to do with the animal? Are you going to a family's house? Do you choose to stay in your own home? We want them to also know where the evacuation locations are. And we want to make sure that if they're ill, you know, what are the measures that you're taking to make sure that you're taken care of if you're ill, and when you're getting your preparation.
Have you filled medication for
Make sure your medications is together, you know, helping that senior think through all the things that they're going to need to know and do during this period of time. Now, it doesn't end there. After the storm, the volunteer is then asked to advocate on behalf of that senior, making sure that senior is back in place where they're going, or back to their homes. Sometimes, of course, you know, when you get there, everything is in disarray. And so as a volunteer, then we want you to help the senior, say if the electricity is not on. We want you to help that senior navigate through the utilities. Or if they run out of medicine, we want you to try to advocate with the senior to, or partner with the senior in this case, to make sure that their medicines are taken care of now. You know, maybe you may need to make a phone call to the doctor or to a family member out of town somewhere. So we want you to help the senior be placed back in to their home as comfortably as possible. You may have debris around. In this case, you may be willing to even pick up the debris or coordinate someone coming to get that all cleared for that person.
Well, another thing that can be helpful during that after period is, say, for example, there are trees down that need to be professionally removed. It might be nice for that volunteer to be with that senior while they're having the conversation with the guys driving around offering to cut down trees, roofers or that type of thing. You know, we hope that everybody's out there doing honest business, but we have seen cases where people have been taken advantage of. So sometimes just somebody standing beside that senior during that conversation will kind of control some of that
and that's a surety.
Out of hand.
Exactly, it's a surety that our seniors are going to be protected, they're going to be safe, and they're going to be placed away from their homes safely, and they're going to come back to their homes safely. And that's what you're doing. You're advocating on behalf of the senior that you've chosen to match with.
Now, are there any calls to the volunteer?
In terms of?
Just no. The answer would be no. I mean, just we're happy to have them, correct?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, this is the purpose of our day. We are in dire need of volunteers at this point. We have the seniors to match, but our call for volunteers, Good Neighbor Volunteers, is a little on the slim side. So we are really asking the community to please call us at 432-1475, the extension 410. That's the Council on Aging. And we would really like for you to become a Good Neighbor volunteer if you're 18 years of age or older.
Well, thank you, Brenda. That's great information, and I hope the phone starts ringing because it is a great program.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Doing a great job.
Thank you.